Now, in this module, we are going to learn some important vocabulary words that will build the base for you to speak and write proper English. Adversary. Now, adversary is someone who is against you, is someone who fights or opposes the other person. For example, he saw her as his main adversary within the company. He tilted his adversary at the meeting. Barricade. Barricade is a type of restriction. Normally, you must have seen while on the roads, there is police barricade. A barricade is anything that prevents people or vehicle from getting through. For example, police erected barricade to keep the crowds from approaching the crime scene. Concoction. Now, concoction is a mixture of many things. So, a concoction is something that has been made out of several things mixed together. For example, try this simple and delicious concoction on them and ask them to think again. Eavesdrop. Now, when you eavesdrop, you secretly listen on someone's conversation. A little girl might eavesdrop on her parents in an attempt to find out what she's getting for her birthday. For example, younger siblings often eavesdrop on their older siblings, which causes them to be labeled as pests. Disdain. Now, if you feel that something isn't worthy of your consideration, you may disdain it, you may disown it, you may not want to do it, right? For example, he sat for a second, then looked at me with total disdain. He showed his disdain for our childishness. Aplomb. Now, aplomb is the ultimate test for cool. Grace under pressure. Now, use aplomb to show great restraint under even most tiring circumstances. So, aplomb is something wherein you are very cool, calm, composed. During the bomb scare, the teacher managed the children with aplomb and kept everyone calm. Contortion. A contortion is a twisted position. If you twist your body into a contortion, you might put one leg behind your ear and clasp your arm behind your back. For example, his physical features contort and change, with his nose meddling into his mouth to form a crude beak. Hasten. Now, hasten is to do something in a very fast manner. The verb hasten means to move at a high speed. So, if you hasten to your room, no one will know that you came in late. For example, the art of printing had been invented in good time to help and hasten the new movement of men's mind. Fourth, moiety. Now, a moiety is one of the two equal parts. If you cut a sandwich in half, you can have one moiety for lunch and give other moiety to the pigeon. For example, when my sister and I shared the bag of chips, she took the moiety and gave me the other portion. Jabber. Now, jabber is a person who always keeps talking. When someone starts to jabber, they start talking on and on about this or that, or in an excited, sometimes incoherent way. So, jabber is a close cousin to blabber. I get nervous when my sister begins to jabber about all the nonsense that happens in her world. Chicanery. Have you ever observed that politicians or corporate leaders will say anything to turn public opinion their way? This tricky kind of deceit and manipulation is called chicanery. So anything which is not true, anything which is fake. For example, you can smell the chicanery from the dishonest politician. Disseminate. Now, disseminate means to spread. You can spread information, knowledge, opinion widely. For example, the new product information was disseminated widely at conference, exhibitions, and in articles. Coagulate. Now, when a liquid starts to thicken and becomes solid, it coagulates. So, if you keep something mixed with water, after some time it becomes thick mixture. This is called coagulation. So when you get a cut, the blood flowing from the wound will coagulate. It will start to clot and form a solid scab, so you will stop bleeding. Dissolution. Now, dissolution means to break up, to dissolve. It's a relationship, means that it is broken up or ended. For example, the dissolution of your band means you better get started for your solo album. Lethargic means lazy. When you feel lethargic, you are sluggish or lacking energy. Being sleepy or hungry can make anyone lethargic. For example, during the hottest day of summer, I feel so lethargic that all I want is to drink iced tea and paint. So, in the next video, we'll learn some more words. Connoisseur. A connoisseur is a person who knows a lot about and enjoys one of the arts or food, drink, etc. He can be a judge of quality and skill in that subject. So any person who is specialist in this field, for example, a person may be very good in baking cakes, so he's a connoisseur. For example, the head chef at the popular seafood restaurant is viewed as a lobster connoisseur. Malinger. Have you ever pretended to be sick or hurt to get out of or taking a rest or doing a code or going to work? Then you may, my dear, are a malinger. So malinger is a person who does something in order to do something else. For example, even if I'm not well, I will act that I'm sick, because of which I may get leave from my office or school. For example, the lazy student tried to malinger when it was time to work on his essay. Ebullient. Now, more than chipper, more than happy, more than delighted is ebullient, meaning bubbling over with joy and delight. So when you are more than happy, you feel ebullient. For example, after being stranded in the airport for 8 hours, we were far from ebullient. Contention. Now contention means being in a competition that ends with one side, usually the winning one being content, a heated disagreement. For example, does anyone know the point of contention that started the fight between Jim and Bob? So contention is basically a disagreement, anything which you don't agree, 2 people, 3 people, or maybe more than that. Eclectic. Deriving ideas, style or taste from broad and diverse range of sources. So maybe you are a writer and you get a lot of ideas from different sources, and that is called eclectic. For example, the restaurant menu was eclectic and included foods from a number of ethnic groups and cultures. Domicile. The country that a person treats as their permanent home or lives in and has a substantial connection with. I am a domicile of India, so I belong to India. I live in India. That's my home country. For example, the police went to visit his domicile when he was reported missing. Castigation is to criticize someone or to something severely. So I may not like a person, so I castigate him. I criticize him because of many reasons. For example, we cannot castigate our students and blame them for their poor grades when we do not give them resources that need to be successful. Disparage. It means to belittle or degrade a person or an idea. For example, I may not like your idea. I may not like you as a person. So what I will do is I will try to put you down. I will try to ridicule you. And that is called disparage. For examples, voters don't like political advertisements in which opponents disparage one another. Futile. Futile is anything which is not relevant, anything which you have tried and it's not working out. So when something fails to deliver a useful result, you call it futile. Hopefully all the time you are spending studying vocabulary won't turn out to be futile. For example, it appears that filling out job applications in this troubled economy is a futile exercise. Resigned. Now if you get a call saying a company has decided to resign your job offer, it's back to the classified for you. Resigned is an official reversal. So anything which is cancelled, anything which is reverted back is called resigned. For example, as a preliminary to negotiation, the government was required to resign all the obnoxious measures. Okay. Provender. Provender is a food that might not be fancy, but it keeps you going hungry. For example, if others are machines to provide provender, they are the machines to read it. Now, you may be getting a lot of foods on the streets. Now, these are the foods which may not be healthy for you, but they keep you get away your hunger. You feel filled even if you don't eat proper homemade food, and that is called provender. Non-entity. A noun non-entity refers to a person of no significance or importance. So maybe you have a person who is almost a non-entity in your office because he does not work, he does not listen to anyone. So example, when the pizza maker was once a non-entity who made pizzas in his garage, he now owns over 200 pizza stores. So this man was earlier a non-entity. No one knew him, but now he has 200 pizza stores. Viscid. The adjective viscid is used to describe something that is sticky or thick, slow-moving liquid. For example, creating a viscid cake with caramel. The chef enjoyed making the ooey gooey treat. So viscid, anything which is thick, anything which is sticky is called thick. Whirl. Whirl is to describe something that looks like a loop. For example, we traveled in the thick fog and through walls of brown mist, which made the woods ghostly. Rubric. A rubric is a heading or a category in a chart or a rule of conduct. So rubric is basically a set of rules. For example, the testing company reassured its graders that they would be using a rubric to grade each essay. Inundate. To inundate means to quickly fill up or overwhelm, just like a flood. So inundate means to fill something. For example, as a teacher, you can expect to have a room full of students who will inundate with you with questions. Inundate means fill you with questions. They will ask many questions. Disingenuous. Someone who is disingenuous is slightly dishonest and insincere in what they say. So disingenuous is basically a person who is not sincere, who does not speak truth. For example, the pharmaceutical manufacturer was clearly disingenuous when it knowingly placed the dangerous drug on the market. Invective. Invective is a rude and unpleasant thing that people shout at, they hate or are angry with. For example, the newspaper's invective of the novel really made the author angry. Laconic. Now, laconic is an adjective that describes a style of speaking or writing that uses only a few words, often to express complex thoughts and ideas. For example, the laconic language of the football player kept the other team from knowing the meaning of their talk. So it basically describes the style of speaking, wherein you're speaking very less but you are expressing yourself quite clearly. Verbose. Using or containing more words than necessary. Many a times you will see the newspapers, they are filled with a lot of words, and that is called verbose. For example, since I do not enjoy reading long books, I avoid verbose authors who write tales that exceed 500 pages in length. So verbose is something wherein a lot of text has been written. Askance. To look at or think about someone or something with doubt, disapproval, or no trust. For example, the soldiers looked askance at him with surprise and even alarm as they went past him. So anything which you see doubtful, which you don't agree, and you don't trust is askance. Harrowing. Now, harrowing is extremely upsetting because it is connected with suffering. For example, you must, let's suppose you are traveling by train, and in between the train stopped for 5 hours, and it was a harrowing experience. It was a very bad experience. For example, waiting to learn about the missing daughter was a harrowing experience for Aman. Rankle. To make someone annoyed or angry for a long time. For example, the fact that the plane is leaving 2 hours late is certainly going to rankle the passengers. So anything which is going to make you very angry for a long period of time. Gainsay. To refuse to accept something as truth. So if you say something and if I don't believe it, that is gainsay. For example, it would be unwise of you to gainsay your doctor's medical suggestion and stop taking your prescription. Credence. Now, credence means truthfulness or believability. For example, because of the experiment had been performed over 100 times, a great deal of credence was given to the results. Mesmerized. When you are awestruck, when you are completely overwhelmed to see something, to have someone attention completely so that they cannot think of anything else is called mesmerized. For example, mesmerized, she missed her step and her father continued without her to the center of the landmark. Second is to empower. Empower means to give something to someone. Empower is to give some power or authority to a person. So when you educate children and believe in them, you empower those kids to go after their dreams. Oral. Now, oral means pertaining to or hearing. For example, instead of using his eyes to read the books, the truck driver used his oral senses to listen to the contents of the novel. So, oral means anything which you are using to listen, to hear, to gain knowledge. Many a times we read books, many a times now we have started to listen to written books. Picaresque. Now, picaresque is to refuse to accept something as truth. For example, the picaresque literature of the period is also very preoccupied with food and drink. Demon. A demon is an evil, mythical monster or spirit. Stories about demons are featured in variety of different regions and religious traditions. The demons can't access it, but an immortal dealer or a dealer who goes through hell can. Isolate. When you remove or set apart one thing from other, you isolate it. For example, Gandhi said that those who isolate religion from politics don't understand the nature of either. So isolate means to remove something or to let a person live alone. Isolation. Expatriation. Expatriation is the process of leaving your country and living in a new one, or the act of forcing a person to do this. So expatriation is basically going out of your own country. For example, you are reminded that expatriation often refers knowledge of one or more foreign languages. Gesticulation. A gesticulation is a dramatic movement that gets attention. For example, excitement usually increases the rate of speech, raises the voice pitch, and there may be more than usual gesticulations. Bailiwick. Now, bailiwick is an area of knowledge in which a person or institution has control or expertise. For example, each section of the city was separated into bailiwick. Humdinger. Now, humdinger is a word for a person or a thing that is remarkably excellent. Brown must have been the humdinger for playground supervisor.